There is no one definition of creativity that everyone agrees with. Creativity researchers, mostly from the field of psychology, all have differing views. So if the concept of creativity and the creative process is so elusive, then how do we define it? How do we try to understand it? To quote a famous person on the creative process, let's look to Einstein, who says to raise new questions, new possibilities, to regard old problems from a new angle, requires creative imagination and makes real advances in science. We'll quote another person who is a famous one, and from the arts this time, Mozart. Particularly like this quote, "When I am completely myself, entirely alone, or during the night when I cannot sleep, it is on such occasions that my ideas flow best and most abundantly. Whence and how these come, I know not, nor can I force them, nor do I hear in my imagination the parts successively, but I hear them all at the same time, all together." I like that because I think it actually embodies what this conference is all about, the be still moments that we've been hearing about and the aha moments, I guess. So there's no universally accepted definition of creativity or the creative process. So then how would we define a creative life? Well, let's ask someone who lives one. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Shari.
So Chris Herden is a freelance arts, entertainment and general feature writer. He's also on the board of the Queensland Writers' Centre and a teaching associate with the University of Queensland School of Medicine Simulated Patient Program. He's also an actor with film and TV credits and a versatile singer with a career spanning a broad spectrum of musical styles from rock to pop to opera and R&B, to name a few. So music is his main creative calling. So Chris, where were you born?
I was born in Newcastle, New South Wales.
Siblings?
Sister, younger sister.
And your first public performance?
First public performance was at Lucknow Primary School, Community Hall, that was next to the school.
And what was your first stage direction?
My first stage direction, I was playing the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. How many arms? And Dorothy comes up to me and says, "Which way to the Wizard, Oz?" And I'm standing there. Okay. That way. And the teacher come up to me and says, "Which way?" That way. "Don't you think you should point?" "I can't, I'm a scarecrow."
What about your first musical memory?
My first musical memory, I think I was about 4 years old, swinging in a tyre that was hanging off a tree in the backyard. I could hear Mum, she used to have the radio next to the kitchen window, and it was playing Frank Sinatra. I didn't try to sing. I think as a young age I tried to mimic, and I heard these songs, so I wouldn't have sung the words, but I was trying to imitate that crooning effect. Strangers in the night. Okay, my voice wasn't quite that deep when I was 4 years of age, but something like that.
This little boy singing Frank Sinatra, you can just imagine. Okay, and so what was your father's profession in that coloured your early life as a child?
Dad was a bus conductor, when they used to have bus conductors, who got into the pub business. He bought a small hotel in an even smaller little village called Lucknow, just this side of Orange.
Interesting name. Why is it Lucknow?
Yeah, I'm not sure about the true story, but on occasion I think may have been no luck in relation to, it was a gold area, so.
So only about couple of hundred people?
Oh, I think it was less than 200 when I was living there, and yeah, it's one of those places, a garage, a shop, and the pub, our pub, and that was it. You blinked, you missed it.
What about school?
School was a one teacher, one classroom school, about 14 students across all the grades. A great creative learning little unit it was.
Were you a bit of a loner?
I was a walker on the go out on my lonesome and walk and sing to myself a lot. I used to do.
So lived in the imagination like so many creative
Yes,
people.
Absolutely.
What about, what should you do for fun in Lucknow?
What I used to do, well, I used to really look forward to Saturday afternoons, which would mean I could go into the Coronet Theatre in Orange, catch the bus in. Not so much to see the latest movie. I was more interested in the projection of movies. I managed to get on the good side of the projectionist there, and he would invite me up on the proviso that I didn't spill my Smarties all over the floor of the projection room.
Now, we've got the old Coronet there from where you went, and on the side there on this screen, you've got some of the Cinema Paradiso, which I understand is a very favourite, one of your favourite films, but also it's a bit of art imitating life.
It is. Look, and it's not just favourite because of those scenes. It's a it's a wonderful movie. But when I saw those scenes, yeah, that really triggered something in me. I said, oh, I've done that. Yeah.
So, first job.
First job? Yeah, McDonald's restaurants.
And first career choice?
First career choice was a social sciences teacher.
Okay, not music.
No, not music, and I wish it was. I wish I'd discovered this passion. Oh, I discovered it anyway, but yeah. I went to Newcastle Teachers College, primarily because I remembered in the last year at high school, the school librarian coming around who would like to apply for a teacher's scholarship, and not really sure where my vocation was heading. Yeah, put my hand up and I applied, and yeah, I got one. And I went into Newcastle Teachers College, got through about 2 years.
And you did this review, you're about 18 years old, so tell us about that. That's a bit of a pivotal moment for you, a be still aha moment?
Yes, it's funny, and it's one of the really treasured memories from being at Teachers College. This is, and I'm getting an inkling here. I'm in the right place, just doing the wrong thing. This is me in a college review called Musical Comedy, which is a show about a show. Yeah, that's me about 18 years of age. I'm glad you're not too close. I know I'm really pimply there. I'm playing a guy auditioning for a role. Yeah.
So you've discovered then that you really, after the 2 years, you had to follow that dream and take up the career choice of music. So did you then start the learning in that?
I did, yeah. I realised it was around about that time, and I went out and did some serious study on the voice. Yeah.
So what did you do? You had private lessons as well as...
I did. I went to a fellow called Colin Chapman, who was a former Shell ARIA winner, and the same award that Joan Sutherland won, and he was well across voice teaching in the Newcastle area. He had several studios. I went to him, and he was suitably impressed to throw me straight into a couple of shows. He had a theatre group that was associated with the Newcastle Dramatic Arts.
So here you're playing a sentimental bloke, the bloke.
Yeah, that's about early 1980s there, yeah.
It's a very, the creative community is a very connected community, isn't it? So a lot of this sort of, as you were saying there, you went to Newcastle Dramatic Arts and you were doing teaching lessons with this particular fellow that led to seeing you and putting you in other things? It
did, yeah. It was wonderful that, most of the work I've picked up in the arts is through interconnecting. Meeting, and I'm not just saying theatre workers, singers and actors, it's talking to the photographers and film editors that you meet.
And also that they hear and see your talent and then go
They
from
do,
there.
yeah. I've managed to pick up, that particularly worked for me when I first moved up this way too.
So you were doing a lot of competitions, or how important are they in building that learning as well and getting you out there for a Stedfords and those sort of things?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I was competing in the Stedfords down the Cessnock and Central Coast areas. This is a talent competition up in Newcastle.
I understand you went on TV, not like The Voice these days, but the old Pot of Gold and Star Search.
Yeah, Pot of Gold, Bert Newton hosting as well, and Bernard King was one of the judges. I don't know how he'd go in a spinning chair.
and Kerry Ann Kennelly.
Yeah, she was there, yes.
Okay,
I said nice things though.
Pretty eclectic taste, didn't you? Because I think what was your first album, or that one of the first ones your parents gave you when they?
Oh yeah, it's really weird. Mum's first album she bought was a Tom Jones, Talk of the Town, and then when she realised I had a bit of a passion for opera, she bought me La Boheme with a young singer called Pavarotti.
So, but you also had a bit of a rock background too.
I did, yeah. I was doing everything musically in the early 80s, and bumped into a couple of guys I knew from school. We were down at the sailing club, and he said, "What are you doing?" They're getting a band together. He said, "I'll come up and sing." And I said, they knew me from school. I said, "We didn't know you sing." "Oh yeah, I used to do, but just never done it publicly much." And he said, "Okay, we'll come along." And there you go. For the next 4 years, I'm lead singer in a rock band.
Okay, we've got to ask. Bit of rock.
Bit of rock, not too loud.
Just a bit.
Hey, hey, Mom, I like the way you move.
So from the little boy doing the Frank Sinatra and the Pavarotti records in the background, you've got now into the full-on rock. So this was full-on 4 years worth of 2 rock bands, quite successful through Newcastle?
It was. Both, particularly Unleashed in its later years, did really well. We were supporting all the major acts, international acts coming over, Uriah Heep and Motorhead and XTC, In Excess, yeah, Cold Chisel, Midnight Oil, The Radiators, Angels, My Sex, all the...
Our Education Minister federally at the moment. Okay, and but as you say, for creative life there are challenges, and as well it's great you see yourself as the people these days wanting to be the front person in a band, but it's hard yakka on the road. You also did roadieing as well, didn't you?
It is.
Part-time jobs?
And yeah, it's like you say, it's got to be a creative life. You've got to get out and make the work for you. Yeah, I used to, in the later years, to make a bit of extra money, I was a singer and the roadie of the same band, yeah.
Now, that pulled you after those 4 years back into that heavy work on the road and those bands. You went back into the musical theatre?
Yeah, around about 84, 85. I was doing a lot of study in acting, movement, and this is my first professional show with Alan McFadden directed that. The star was Trevor White, who was the original Jesus from Superstar, Australian production. Anne Luby, she's gone on to do a lot of work. But that was my first professional show, and it was great to work with some really established names in the industry too.
Can we have a bit of The Who?
Oh, okay. Feel me, touch me, free me, heal me.
Thank
Listening to you.
Okay,
no,
that's enough. Now, this is another pivotal moment or a Be Still moment for you that also really was quite cathartic with Deep Bells Ring, a touring show. Can you tell us why it was so important?
Oh, this was a wonderful opportunity for me. I had auditioned, I think, for the Sydney Conservatorium, and my name was passed on to Margaret Roadnight, the tall lady on the right-hand side there. Margaret, she's quite a renowned folk singer here in Australia, and this was a show about Paul Robeson, the great American activist and actor, singer, lawyer, football player in his youth, an incredible man who was poorly treated over the years, and it was in respect to him. Yeah, it was a wonderful show.
So you actually performed on the steps of the Opera House? And,
we do. Because,
and the new Parliament House?
Yes, in Robeson's visit to Australia, he sang to the workers of the Sydney Opera House. A song like Old Joe Hill or something like that. And so in Deep Bells Ring, we got an opportunity to, in a little way, replicate that by singing to the workers of the new Parliament House at the time.
And it was a great place to be when you finally came back to Brisbane, because it was just ahead of Expo. Remember that in those days, and how we completely changed the face of Brisbane. So there's a lot of work going on there. You were doing a lot of other things too, weren't you?
I was. Well, I was still singing in Newcastle and coming up and doing this, but yeah, Deep Bells Ring that was a pivotal moment in me becoming a bit of a Queenslander, I must say, because Dave McFarlane, who was the head of Lyric Opera of Queensland at the time, he came along to that and he offered me a position in the Young Artist program. And I can just tell you that interstate, this program was really widely known and respected, as was Queensland's Conservatorium music was really truly regarded as probably the finest musical institution in Australia.
But you didn't just learn music, did you? What else?
No, we didn't. We studied languages, Italian and French, and music theory, which I of the six probably needed a bit more brushing up on. Learning skills. We did movement skills. Even had the Brian Tucker came around in his and give us specialist financial advice on how to handle those things as a performer.
Now we do have to ask, don't we? We've heard a bit of rock, we've heard a bit of Frankie. We might have to have a bit of opera.
Bit of opera. Okay, I'll drop it down to the baritone range for this. I think I scared him a bit.
Just a tweak.
Dio me saudi, Dio me saudi, Dio me
Thank you, Chris. It's obviously versatility is the key in a creative life. Now, this also led to, again, other people hearing you and doing other things. You worked for people like a solo work as well in Pops Orchestra.
I was really firing around about 89, 90. A lot of things were happening and I was just falling in love with Brisbane, I must say. Colin Harper came along and saw me perform at a City Council lunchtime series concert, and he invited me to do some work with the Pops Orchestra, and Ron Hamden from the St Lucia Orchestra, he came along and saw that as well. I ended up joining La Capella, which was a very nice sounding, tight four-piece a cappella ensemble. And that went on to go for about 4 or 5 years. And
lots of big auditions then for the big shows, so things like the Les Mis that you kind of nearly got into?
Les Mis, down to the last man standing, yeah. It's Enjolras cover for that.
But then that led to Phantom?
Pretty well straight after Phantom that took me in for their Sydney season, yeah.
And who was there? The late Rob Guest, was that?
Rob Guest, yeah. Really lovely guy who would work as an actor so hard. It was great to be working with a performer of that calibre.
And you were in how many runs did you do in over how many years?
I figured it was around 1,400 shows over 3 and a bit years.
Imagine that every night. 1,400 shows. But that obviously...
It's not as hard as you think, actually.
Yeah, because there's some different nuances in it. We might have to have a tiny little tweak of a bit of... Because you understudied Phantom too.
I did, yeah. Okay. Let your soul take you where you long to be.
Thank you. We're making him work, aren't we? So this led you, after that long season in Sydney, which is quite unusual unless you're with the big musicals. But the thing about, before bringing you back to Brisbane then, and you've got your Scottish play moment?
I've got a Scottish play moment, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I can announce it's all true, The Curse, yeah. I was in the last 5 minutes of the last performance of the season. I copped a nasty blow above the right eye. Those are heavy broadswords. They're
real.
They're real, yeah. They've got about 3 kilo weight in them.
So did you have to do fight scenes and choreography as well?
We did. For that show, we probably rehearsed even more on the fight scenes than the actual blocking and music.
But unfortunately, still the curse. See, you just got to watch out for saying...
Yeah, a couple of stitches. Yeah.
Now, that also started, again, as we were saying, the creative industry and what you've encountered over your creative life is meeting a lot of people and re-meeting them. So the director of this show, I Love You, You're Perfect, Now Change, was actually someone you worked with before. Yeah,
Simone de Haas, and her company, Mixed Company, very creative in some of the works that they're taken a risk on. That, and this was a great show. This show actually holds records for its off-Broadway run, so to speak. It holds something about 10 or 11 years it's been running off-Broadway in the one spot. And it's a 4-person ensemble, which we all played about 38 roles between the 4 of us.
Amazing. Okay, now this is another pivotal moment for you. The Nelson Eddy, you've had a love from an early age of him, but can you tell us about Sweethearts?
Yeah, well, this is what's happening now. Nelson Eddy is probably a singer I'd most admire. I've always, over the years, been investigating ways of paying a homage to Nelson Eddy, and I discovered this book, Sweethearts, by Sharon Rich. Now, Sharon Rich is the undoubted world authority on anything that's to do with Nelson Eddy and his on-screen partner, Jeanette MacDonald. And I felt, after trying several ideas, if I'm going to do this story, I really need Sharon's approval, because it'd be so pointless to go against this wonderful information that she is holding exclusively. You know, she's got love letters.
She interviewed about 200 people.
She interviewed Jeanette MacDonald's sister. Jeanette MacDonald's sister was an actress called Blossom Rock, who played Grandma in The Addams Family. You may remember her. Well, Sharon Rich, the author, interviewed her and got some stuff that had never been really revealed in the general media over the years. So I felt, if I'm going to pursue this, I need to talk to Sharon, and sure enough, she's given the okay for that to go ahead.
Now, Peter, thank you. I'll ask your assistance here. We'll just take a little tiny bit of this, which is from the Cabaret Festival of 2008. So your first of that development from going into a 1-hour cabaret show for that you also sent to Sharon Rich for approvals as well.
Yeah, I think she had a look at this and she thought it wasn't too bad. And this is just a
little bit of it. Thanks, Peter.
A small segment from the show. You and the night and the music fill me with flaming desire, setting my being completely on fire.
Thank you.
And I created a bit of film editing skills out of that too, I think.
Yes, yes. So you did send that to her as a YouTube. Thank you, Andrew. You were right about all of that technology, because she did, I think you're being modest, because she actually gave you permission to further develop the show from her book, and you're the only person other than one other in the world who's got that permission.
Yeah, I mailed off to her early this year, and about 4 months had passed, hadn't heard anything, but lo and behold, it turns out she'd been hospitalised for a while, and she was keen, and she wants to support it, and wants me to come over to Philadelphia and perhaps show her a bit.
Oh, excellent. Congratulations. Now, another big show then, you finally got to do the Les Mis main lead character there.
Yeah, I guess if you're in musical theatre and you want to, it's one of those roles I've always, just wanted to do. And that was a great production. Yeah.
And great reviews for that.
Yeah.
Now, you're very hairy, so you obviously do the beard and you grew the beard and the long hair. Did that help in the role?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that sort of, I thought it would annoy me, but no, I actually didn't mind it at all.
So it helps you to get into the role?
Oh, yeah, it did. Yeah, it did.
Feel like a different person?
Yeah.
And here's another project, just as we're winding up now. This Hell and High Water is something that is going to be a creative interlude on tomorrow, but this is your involvement goes back to 2010, and there's some of the fellows that creative team you met from Les Mis. What's the story there?
Oh, this is a wonderful example of the creative process in action, and that's how it's been structured. This is a presentation we're putting on here tomorrow. It's the second day of the forum. I met Matt Samer and Kieran Davey back in 2010. They'd written this musical, had various little different blocks of sort of development. It had been orchestrated, a couple of songs from that had been revised, rewritten and put into some commercial concerts. But this story, Hell and High Water, is about one of the darkest chapters of Australian maritime history, the sinking of the Batavia back in the early 1600s. And they've written this wonderful score and very clever lyrics. It's beautiful, it's melodic, it's very Les Mis-like, big haunting melodies. And we just, tomorrow, we invited some members from the South Bank Institute of Technology to come along and provide some animations. And we got to have a rehearsal of this over at the Edge on Monday night, and we were really surprised with the results. So if you pop along, I'm sure you'll be very happy.
But that's again just showing that how long it takes to do these things, like a Les Mis type of a production. This sort of thing has been in, these boys have been working on for many years.
These guys are taking a unique path. It's not a standard development, these are the stages you're going through. They've just picked up bits and pieces, and I'm trusting this will be a bit of a kicking board for them as well. It'll be really interesting to see how it comes out.
Okay, well, we'll wind up to show that obviously a creative life demands quite a lot of versatility and challenges and part-time jobs and things, but now you've managed to wrangle your part-time jobs to all be in that creative type of industry. You've got to tell us about our current Premier, who was Lord Mayor at the time, in the middle there. Well,
avoid any confusion. I'm the one in the costume on the left. That's me trying to recycle a Lord Mayor. Yeah, that was a fantastic campaign. That was put on by Council and Waste Industry Services. That was it was
recycling.
It was a mascot character. It was obviously targeting the young viewers on TV and the kids. And we saw some genuine results come out of that, of the children educating their parents in recycling practices.
And it was a 4-month project that went into 3 years, I think.
Attended for 4 months and went for 4 years. I think a few of the lady councillors fell in love with Si. He was very funny, Si. He only had 2 words to his vocabulary. Yummy! Or yuck!
So to say whether you could recycle or not.
Yeah.
And then now you're a freelance writer on BMag and also doing a lot of writing for them.
Yeah, that's really come along. I've been with the magazine since its inception in 2006. and working across different fields of writing, travel, entertainment, arts.
And that led you now a board member of the Queensland Writers Centre?
Yeah, board member of the QWC. It's a fantastic board, a first-time board member in my second year, and we've got a great board, and it's a great, to me, it's a great teaching board, you know.
So you come back to this full circle now to the teaching, which is the this final thing here, which is the simulated patient. So you're an associate teacher with the University of Queensland. So how does that work?
Yeah, and I've just started actually a similar role for the Queensland Law Society this week. But yeah, as the name implies, simulated patient, from first to 5-year students, we take on the role of a simulated patient. We don't consider ourselves actors, and we don't want people to come. We don't want actors to come in and audition for us. We don't want a performance. It's standardised, so we play the patient in psychiatry, psychology,
All range of things.
Oh, yeah.
But you're back to your teaching that you left
everything.
many years ago, so it's probably a continual learning, obviously.
Me, a teacher, yeah, and here it is, it's happened. This is broken. It's really great what's happening with the School of Medicine. There's different strands have broken off this program as well, and which some areas which University of Queensland is the only educational institution taking some of these strategies.
Thank you. Well, we'll wind up there, and thank you very much for sharing with us all of your background of over the years of living a creative life. While we might not be able to have and agree upon a universal definition of what it is to be a creative or a creativity, hopefully we've got some insight into living a creative life today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shari. Thank you, everyone.